What's up everyone, it's Jambor's new video and a huge review of Panasonic Lumix S1 Mark II. And before I will hit intro, I will emphasize few things. First of all, I've already done a review. Did the review? I never know. In Czech language, because I'm Czech, I'm from Prague, and I was using Panasonic Lumix S1 Mark II, borrowed from Panasonic Czechia to me for a week, and of course, predominantly I did the review in my own language. Now it's my turn in English, and it comes with few bonuses. First of all, when I was shooting the review for Czech version, I didn't have a chance to work with RAW files. Now they are unlocked, they work, and all of it in here in this review, and I think this will be the only review of this S1 Mark II with actually RAW files in and color graded. And it's also probably going to be completely different kind of review than you already have with all those specs and all those, like how the body looks and how the screen flips and so on. Watch the other reviews. They are fine. They are 10 minutes long. They are just tell you everything what you can read in marketing materials. But I will give you a real case scenario, because what I did with this camera, I photo shoot a lot because primarily I'm a photographer. But I also did a lot of videos because I'm also a videographer after all. I'm also a director. I did a documentary with S1ii, a little one. And I used a huge variety of this camera, shoot over 10,000 photos, shoot all of the modes, in video modes also. And I will split this review to few parts like video, photo, autofocus, some conclusions for whom this camera really is. And now jump a little bit to the end, why this is probably the best hybrid camera on the market. Alright guys, so let's begin this huge review. Sorry for such a huge introduction, but I think you can skip to the parts which you are really interested in. What I really would like to talk about now in this section, pre-photo section, let's say, is that I use this camera from various angles and I wanted to test it really deeply as much as possible, but I had this pre-samples or sample version of the camera, so not the final product, which I didn't struggle with actually at all. So you know, this is what I will give you, but there might be some slight improvements in the final version. What is important? First of all, I really wanted to choose it for sports or different environments. So I was shooting indoors, the rollerblade derby, or it's not a blade actually, it's those rollers, the old school, you know, kind of this weird sport where I somehow very randomly get into, and I photo shoot and I record it and I, you know, tested all the autofocus option and so on. It was indoors, weather outside was changing completely all the time, so different light, different conditions all the time, artificial light also. One thing about this technicality, you know, because the Panasonic Lumix is using, or the S1ii is using this partly stacked sensor, which I have no clue what it means, only that it has faster readout speeds, less rolling shutter and so on. It also has very low issues with this flickering from those lights, you know. It's like when you have this artificial light and some frequencies, it's blinking. It's creating those horizontal lines everywhere. It's because it's like very lots of flashes are going on, or it's in general the light is blinking that fast that your eye cannot see it, but the camera somehow can. So this issue is less, or like I didn't have an issue with it whenever I shot inside photography, for example, if 1/50 or 100, which is normally a shutter speed which you normally use in photography in such conditions. Otherwise you have those artifacts in here. 1 to 1000, it was absolutely okay. It's 1/1000. I never know how it is shutter speed. 1000 shutter speed. Tell me, like 1000th of the second. Doesn't matter. So this is extremely huge, but a really huge improvement for photographers, for example, also videographers. But in Panasonic cameras in general, you can use shutter angle, which helps you a little bit more with those effects. So this is about it. I shot the outside document with also this roller skating, but it was a park. It was super fast-paced movement in this pool. Alright, what I'm doing with my hand, like I'm always doing like anyway. So this is what I did. I also was photo shooting a lot during my workshop, which is basically portrait photography. So I was testing a lot of this. Like I was shooting with like around 20 people. So also very huge amount of people I tested this camera with. And I also did some street things, street photography. So I went through sports, through street, to portraiture, basic, and also shooting different environments, different things, to also test the autofocus and so on. In general, let's speak in general. Again, I said, watch the other reviews about the body and so on. It's the S1R Mark II body. Everything is exactly the same. So the high quality LVF is brilliant. LED display really works. It's this flipping crazy screen which you can now do in every angle. It doesn't limit you at all. It has 32-bit float audio with this XLR adapter, which I was also using quite frequently. Amazing. No more problems with the audio. Card slots, SD cards, CS Express card type B, and so on and so forth. For this, just watch different reviews. The thing is, what I want to say, it's non-problematic body with many options. Even with my short hands, I can handle everything. It has better grip than S5 II or S5 original. All of it extremely professional. And talking about professional, it's one more important thing before we start to talk about photos in here, is that this is an all-rounder camera. And I will be extremely positive in this review in general. It's not about there is little things which doesn't work. Maybe for you, big things which doesn't work might be like tracking focus, which still Panasonic for some reason suffers. And in S5 it was the best, but okay. In my opinion, this is not a big deal. The big deal about this camera, in a very positive way, if it's an all-rounder. And as an all-rounder, I think this is the only and the first camera on this market, and especially for such value, which all around does everything what it does perfectly. Photo section. Okay, so I told you I'm primarily a photographer, so for me, photo shooting is the primary focus. Extremely important, extremely needed to work, but every single camera nowadays can do it. So I was like, okay, I'm using S5 Mark II. Before I was using S5. Again, dominantly for photography, even though I'm using it very hybridly, so I'm switching back and forth. That's why I need a light setup. That's why I don't rig my camera. That's why I need it to be really like immediately available for all of it what I want, and that's Lumix's thing, with the stabilization and so on. So this is perfect, no worries about it at all. But how they can improve the picture quality, how they can improve the photography, because every camera nowadays do perfect job, and that's true. So what is so special about S1 Mark II? Is it, when they have S1R2, S1R2, does this even cope? Like, if you're a photographer, does it make sense for you? And for this, I will tell you, it's incredible what they did with 24 megapixel sensor, which I also have in S5 Mark II. But the thing is that this is a different sensor. has only those 24 megapixels also only. I think this is this universal quality for the files which are about 25 to 30 megabytes, and this is just the sweet spot kind of for photography, which is very frequently used in weddings and so on, to not have like crazy huge files, or like if you shoot JPEGs it doesn't really matter. But anyway, thing is that they did something extremely incredible in here, which I don't even know if I'm speaking subjectively in here, but I was shocked that whenever I zoomed in into the photos from a big, actually like huge push, you can see it now in the pictures over here, that you don't lose so much quality. They are super sharp. Of course, it's a little bit connected to the lens 24 to 60 I was using, but not that much because I was switching the lens, also my lens, and I can tell the difference between my cameras and this new one, S1 Mark II. Simply the image quality and the detail they put, I don't know how they did it. It's just doubles. It's just different standard. It's like upgraded. It's like everything I have in my S5 Mark II upgraded, like on steroids. It's incredible. Like now when I'm telling you, I'm normally having goosebumps, which is so weird to have talking about the camera, but this was my impression. Like how, like I was almost always asking myself a question, like how did they do it? Like how is it possible? The color quality better. How much? Like subjectively, I can pinpoint all the colors a little bit better. Of course, they say like we have a better dynamic range and so on, but there is something special about those colors, and there, you know, in English there is this amazing word, color fidelity. That this connection between colors and shades, it's extremely smooth, and the camera creates, regardless the lens you put, like much sharper images in general, more detail. It doesn't feel like 24 megapixel, and there is nothing wrong about 24 megapixel, but this is a different 24 megapixel. I swear, this is like using something what you are shocked that such quality can be produced with this. Like even though it cost like 3,000 euros or something, like this camera, something around this, you don't have such quality in such value anywhere nearby. And for me, this is the first extremely great impression. The second impression, which I have, it's not just an impression, this is a fact, is the speed. The speed is incredible, and I'm an electronic shutter shooter from the beginning. On S5, on S5 Mark II, and also on S1R Mark II and S1 Mark II. The thing is, why I'm doing it is that I'm shooting lots of the time, most of the moments, in the places where I'm shooting with the non-professional models, if something like this even exists, like with people who are not professional in modeling, and you know, any beep of shutter, like it's interrupting them, and I want them to focus on me, not too much into the camera. Any moment where I can, you know, let them to focus where I want them to focus, instead of be nervous about the another shot, it's better for me. So I mastered the electronic shutter shooting few years ago already, when it wasn't perfect. But this is connected to the sensor and its readout speed, to the fast readout speed. So of course, if you move with the camera the specific ways during holding the shutter, you create artifacts. Basically everything what is vertical, it's bending, you know. And I tested it also with the S5 II, S5 Mark II version, connected this rolling shutter. It exists, of course, because it's not a global shutter, but it's very minimal. It's minimal also in photography, and now finally this S1 Mark II, and I think they should call it S1 Mark II Sports, because it's fast and it doesn't have issues. You can shoot even like this with the camera, and you don't deform your subject. This is extremely important, that you can do another creative work with just photography, but also for the video, but for the photography mostly. And you can see it, for example, in this image, that in this super fast burst mode where I shot 70 pictures per second, you can see actually 2 seconds of the action. So imagine how fast it actually is in reality. Nothing is bending, zero bending, and no artifacts. And this is extremely important. It gives you freedom. It gives you you don't need to compromise, or you're making compromises on a minimum level in photography. So it's extremely valuable for sports, for wildlife, because of course this camera can finally kind of excel with a proper lens, of course. It also helps with any other thing. The speed is essential now, and I never really thought about it, how incredibly snappy it all, like how incredibly important this is even for portrait photography, especially when you want to be a hybrid shooter more likely, and you want to be fast, and you don't spend so much time with thinking about how to do it, but you're simply doing it. And this camera is extremely fast, extremely, with extremely I'm extreme, but this is an incredible piece of art what they put into 3,000 euro body, or $3,500, $3,500. This is incredible, actually incredible. And this camera has a huge value for photographers, in my opinion, especially if you're a hybrid shooter, or especially if you're, for example, a wedding shooter. You don't need this extra 20 megapixels more, such a huge files and so on. And more likely what you prefer is the fast speed. If this is the thing you're looking for, and you're just thinking what camera you should buy, I think Lumix S1 Mark II might be your choice, because there is not really too much competition in this price point. It's not. It simply doesn't exist. And speaking about it, because only photo is not a thing, for the cameras nowadays, let's switch to video. Let's continue with the video in my completely different review than you're maybe used to. It's really based on feelings, but those feelings were created by facts. Again, if you want to watch some specific video, like how many frame rates it has, or how this really exactly works, and you want to hear it in 5 minutes, switch the channel. This is not for you. But if you're more interested into detail, feeling, and real case scenario use cases, like really, might this be very important for you to listen. Because if this camera excels somewhere, it's of course videos. Like Lumix they're famous for this, that there's so many specs, so many possibilities how to approach it. It's very professional instrument if you know what you're doing. Because I heard many complaints about how many options this camera actually has. But I think this comes from the users of different systems. Because if you're a Lumix system user, you completely understand the menus, you completely understand what it means, how much is there, and so on. And I understand that for people who are using Canon, Sony, Nikon, that this is a little bit confusing, because they are not used to that that those brands are offering people the freedom of choice, and this kind of big value of what Lumix camera has, which is a little bit of critique of theirs, because they can basically do the same, but they are asking much more money for less. Lumix, on the other hand, is bringing, especially in this camera, like 11 pages of video modes, which is there for a purpose, because you can shoot in so many various ranges. You want super professional raw files, you can do it internally. You want low files, Instagram-ish, Reels thing. You want to use an MP4 light codec, which basically costs no data. You can also do it. And there are so many in between, but what is very important, again, is the color quality, or the image quality in general, which is superior. It is superior. And the color science in Vlog, this is absolutely great. And it has one additional thing, this dynamic range boost, or they call it a little bit differently in S1 II, dynamic extension, dynamic boost range. Doesn't matter. It means that they even improve a little bit of the color quality, and then they took up the speed. But in my opinion, I shot most of the time without it, because I honestly cannot see a huge difference. Like no, this wouldn't be even right. I cannot see the difference. I don't simply see it. If it's 14 plus something stops or 15 a little bit stops, I really cannot tell the difference. I'm not DOP or crazy grader who would tell you if there is a difference. So for my personal needs, I don't really mind. The thing is that the quality of image is still extremely incredible, and I don't know what they did again, but the sharpness, what comes from it, the amount of detail what comes from it, it's crazy. For example, now I'm shooting on S5 Mark II in open gate 6K. Most of the shots over here, what you see, is in 5.1K open gate in 25 and 50 FPS, which looks better. It looks better than this 6K. I know it's only 900 pixels different, but even in 4K, even in all those other modes, you know, some of them I'm showing in here, it's incredible. There is a little bit slight downgrade of image quality in 4K 100 with a slight crop. I cannot see it. I really wouldn't tell there is a problem. Of course, then you can choose this crazy 6K full sensor, you know, this noodle shot, super wide screen, which looks also anamorphic, especially when I put this effect on it, which just looks incredible. But what is the king and game-changing mode? And that's why I think this camera, it's not just the best value, but a game changer for many businesses, which I will talk later about in the video, is this 5.1K open gate, which you can go in 50p, a little bit slow motion basically, because this is the feature which non-camera has, and this is the feature maybe a year ago I wouldn't really feel that I needed. Everybody knows what open gate is, right? It used this full sensor, which is 3 to 2 or 2 to 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 3, yeah, this one, and it creates the whole width. So normally the 4K it's 16 to 9. Now with this different ratio, you first of all get much wider picture, like there is more in the picture basically, but also it's ideal for you to cut off if you want to do vertical or horizontal video only, or both, and that's what is the difference. Now with the 50p, for most of the other advertisements, for most of the things which can be the same in the widescreen or in vertical, and you want to do it perfectly, you can do it in one take. You don't need to change the rigging, you don't need to change lenses, you don't need to change anything. You just need to compose once properly for both in 6K, and you will get one perfect result, which means that you're saving a lot of costs, because time is money. And with all of those little changes, sudden changes, you cannot even have the same scene. With this, you can shoot it, of course, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the same, but you will get the same output everywhere. You save so much time, so much cost, so much energy, focus. Of course, probably lots of people can lose money, but this is a game-changing thing, because of course, this no one had before. And if you want a perfect image quality, because if you have those 6K, you can punch in a lot and you won't see a difference, especially for example in social media, you know, still full HD is the thing. 4K on YouTube, but everywhere else is still full HD, of course, because of the data consumption. So if you will punch, you know, 6K into full HD, you know, even if I'm here, I will punch in and I will look cool even on YouTube in 4K. So imagine how it looks actually in some stories, reels, TikTok, and so on. For this camera, not this one, but the one I'm talking about the whole time, it's a game changer. It's amazing feature. It gives you a variety and plenty variety of usage. I'm not even talking about anamorphic because I'm not using it. Again, watch the video for that, but they added some extremely good features for anamorphic, and also they did extremely well with the stabilization. Like if Lumix is perfect in something in general, it's stabilization. Still the S5 Mark II, I would even say the S5, the original one, it's still better than the most camera on the market. S1R2 was brilliant, and S5 it's even better. I think this is because the sensor is 24 megapixels. Also, I think they somehow software-wise mastered this cropless regime of stabilization, which basically you cannot even feel that it's going on, but it stabilized the camera basically in the most cases. It stopped shaking, absolutely. And then if this is not enough for you and you want almost like super smooth movement, you can go to the super highest mode. It won't do anything. Still, and this is important to say, it's not a gimbal. Whoever told you like this is a gimbal changer, you don't need gimbal anymore, it's kind of not true. Depends on what you want to shoot, because gimbal do all 3-axis stabilization and it stabilizes the camera itself. It's like this hen and neck, you know. The thing is that the stabilization in the chip, it still cannot move. That looks weird. It still cannot move forward, kind of, and it's floating in 2 axes the most. And it's not, you know, it's sometimes it's cuts. It does every camera in Lumix's cameras is the best, but still it cuts. But what it, for example, does is wobbleless. If you shoot yourself, this is the perfect camera to be in. But I can talk only in superlatives. Of course, there are another modes, another, you know, elements. You see it everywhere. Slow-mo 4K 100 finally in such a body, great. There is this amazing full HD 240 or 200, depends on the PAL or NTSC, depends on what mode you are using. 200 slow motion. You can do like there is no limits. You can record into your hard drive. You can record internally. You can do proxies. Like you can do timecode via Bluetooth. You can use this 32-bit audio, so the audio issues in general stop being existent. For this you need this XLR adapter, which I was talking before. I was also testing it. There is 0 issues with this camera. No overheating in my case in the sample version of the camera. Like, I don't know. I think this camera is kind of a bulletproof horsepower whatsoever. This is, in my opinion, the industrial most valuable video camera on the market for most of the businesses. And for the video, there will coming also the ARRI lock into the full frame body. So you will be able to buy another set of lock profile, which then you can connect with the professional camera, like professional film camera from ARRI with their lock, and then it can become a B, C cam on the sets. It can become a camera on the documentary, for example, and so on. And it's becoming an incredible instrument for professionals. For hobbyists also, but for professionals, absolutely. And I think that, but I will talk about it a little bit later also, that Panasonic really should a little bit switch their marketing, targeting, because there are some things which they can explain, in my opinion, a little bit better than they do overall via even many YouTubers on the market who are, I don't know where they are actually focusing at, which I'm not want to criticize it, but I just don't know if this make really sense for them that much. Anyway, let's move on to autofocus. And I'm talking a lot. I really hope that the value it gets for you is there. Write me in the comments below. If not, if yes, buy me a coffee if you want to support me. It would be amazing. The thing is, what I want to talk about now is, of course, autofocus, logically, and just said that Panasonic nailed it. And I was specifically checking this new mode, urban sports. That's why there is a lot of skating, also ballet, also this rollerblade craziness and so on, because I wanted to check how it tracks, how it finds the subject, tracks it among, and so on in the very fast-paced scenario. It does it perfectly. It doesn't miss. It very rarely miss. For example, in the picture when I'm shooting photography stills, is in English is said also. If I shoot 100 photos, if it misses once or twice, this is the maximum. Really, in any single mode, if you put the mode automatically, there are 2 things which I really wish they would work better. First of all, that even though I don't choose a specific mode, the camera will understand what I want to shoot more faster or faster without preferability, and I don't need to care about it anymore because I want to be the most lazy person, focus on my framing, picture storytelling, and so on, to be really one-man army. That would even help better, but it's not there, so you need to really switch the perfect one from I don't know, cars, trains, the animals, eyes detection in human body, and so on. So many tracking elements which really work perfectly, unless one thing which I don't understand why doesn't really work perfectly, because it almost worked amazingly in the original S5, and then somehow something happened and it doesn't work, and it's tracking. Tracking when you push and press the finger on something to be sticky, the focus, and then you can move the camera and the camera should focus on this subject and this subject only. It cannot do it. It's simply, this is something Panasonic needs to do. Again, I was having the pre-production piece, but it's the same issue in S5 Mark II. The tracking for some reason doesn't really stick, doesn't really work. It hunts everywhere and it doesn't work. So if this is a feature you need for some reason, then maybe this is not a camera for you. If this is the only, like, this is the reason. Like, I never have an issue with it. I just would wish that it really would work, because it would add the other value, and I think some other brands, they have no struggle about it at all. So I think, you know, Panasonic needs to do all those things perfectly, and perfectly in all the ways, because I think this is a thing nowadays also, but it's not the most important thing at all. And I think this is basically the only downside for the autofocus system, because otherwise it's sticky as crazy everywhere. It really works, it's perfect, and it's not an issue anymore. It's much better than this S5 Mark II, which already has basically almost no problem, but this one, it's immediate. You're there, it holds, it understands, it shoots, and you won't lose your subject. Very rarely it can happen for some almost, I would say, logical reason, but with all combined features the camera has, this is just the amazing addition that it really makes it ultra professional, or ultra reliable, which I think it's even more important than the professional word. Even professional connects whatsoever. So this is about it, and now let's move on to some other features this camera has which are cool. First of all is the connection with the app, Lumix app and Lumix Lab and Lumix Flow app, which both connects the camera, you know, via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi together. You can use the cable also. You can do various things. In Lumix Lab, you can first of all add LUTs. You can, of course, manipulate the camera. You can shoot with it. You can use it as an external monitor, kind of. You can also connect your camera to YouTube directly. You can basically broadcast with it in full HD. You can also do it in 4K, but in some 15 FPS, which is unusable in my opinion, like lagging without lagging, you know. So why to use it? Probably no one will use it ever, I think. But you can try, but you can connect. So this is all like perfection. And the thing is that the app works really amazingly well. You can download data from it. You can upload data from it. You can upload and download LUTs and so on and so forth. So it makes the environment, you can update the camera. So it makes the environment very easy, simple, looking great, understandable, and fast, and it's reliable, which is important. The Flow app, it's adding these scripts and more perfect camera manipulation, let's say, and it also really works as a second monitor perfectly. I didn't have a chance to use it, but I saw it but just didn't record it, but I saw it, how it really works, and it's reliable. And also with all those other options like false color and so on, makes it a professional tool when you want to have a really low, you know, setup, but still have some additional work. And now it works also via Bluetooth. I mean, this mirroring, you know, with all those elements. So really great tools what they have as an addition to the ecosystem, which I think works fine. They have also this new lens 2460, which is missing this 70, which also misses this pro naming. So some of the YouTubers says it, but it's not this professional lens. I can guarantee you it's the professional lens. 2.8, super fast, super sharp, super lightweight for 24 to 60, super lightweight. You can have programmable button over that, actually two, because it has this button, it has two of the rings. You can program them to whatever you want. You can do a cropless mode, which you zoom in even more. You're losing the quality extensively, depends on how much you're zoom in or crop in, basically. But if this is something you want to do, or to zoom something, use it as some kind of binoculars, you can kind of try it. So this is also amazing thing in it. Like, this is very positive review, right? Yes, but you know, this is the thing. When you're starting using something in practice, not theory, but the real practice, when your work also depends on it and so on, and you see that the tool really works, and it works better than the tools you were using since then or before that, and it just gives you this another edge. Also, then you go home, you post-produce, and you see like, oh my god, this is absolutely stunning. Then why would you tell the otherwise? Because really, I have a compare even in with Lumixes, and this is something where I want to get for whom this camera actually is, and what are my conclusions. And so let's get to the final part of this video. If you just started here, that will be a big summary in the beginning, right? Amazing for stills, amazing for video, with many features which I described in those sections. 10 out of 10 camera, I would say yes. I would say yes, this is 10 out of 10, because for such a value, there is no competition. Somebody says it's too expensive for what competition can do. It's like, I would say no. I think this is completely understandment what this camera really has inside. Of course, you can buy cheaper cameras, or you can buy much more expensive cameras. And those much more expensive cameras, which are starting about 5,000 euros, 4,000 something, and are older and without lens, they offer still less options than this camera. And as I said in the part of the video, this is an all-rounder camera, and really what it does, and all of it does, or 95% of what it does perfectly, which the other cameras cannot really tell, because they are more specialized on something. But this is the ultimate hybrid camera, really the ultimate. I think this is the only real hybrid camera on the market in the way of usage, because the usability of this camera is limitless. It has no limit. It really has no limitations, which I think this is the most important thing. It's fast. You can switch from video to photo like in a second. You can it works immediately. It works immediately between all those modes. It has super fast photography if you need it. It has super sharp photography if you want it. It has like a huge amount of modes for video, for different bit rates and so on if you want it. So you can really specialize your camera for your specific cases, or you can program your buttons to all the case you need, because you have like 8 to 9 programmable buttons, which you can really switch between photo and video for both modes, actually 9, so even more. And you can create like the ultimate one-man universal soldier army in your hands for any case scenario you do. And for example, I'm using the camera when I'm going on set photo shoot for something, and they hire me, where they mostly hire me for do photos, for example for backstage, and do also videos. And for this, I normally was taking 2 cameras to be sure, you know, with this camera, video, photo, I'm not wasting time, you know, and I'm fast, the camera is reliable, it really works. And I think, you know, they should target it to like creators, small productions, small rentals. They should not focus on photo professionals, for example, because, you know, I believe that this is this ego brand thing. You know, you invested in something, you are the Canon shooter, you're a professional Canon shooter. Like, how, you know, it's like people who are buying Mercedes. They will always buy Mercedes. Even the other cars might be even better. There is something about it, they are using this principle, you know. Okay, you probably hardly change minds of those people. You should try, But focus your energy elsewhere. Focus it on people who would want this value. Agencies, advertisement agencies, YouTubers, TikTokers, like one-man army creators. Find those businesses, people who wants to do it all, save money on the equipment, and focus on workability, focus on universality, or versatility, because this is what we need. I need to take this camera with me. I need it to work, but I don't want to take so many equipment with me. And with this camera, I can really be one-man army. I need less in my pocket. I need less lenses because now you're making it more universal. I don't need anything. I just need this camera, basically one lens. It doesn't matter if zoom or some prime. And I can do all of it because it has all the resolutions. It has all the pace. It can do from sports to movies. You know, nowadays, especially when they will add this Arilog into it. It can do it also with Vlog. But it has all the flexibility. And this is the most flexible camera on the market, which weight with this lens, which I'm now using 24 1.8 Panasonic, like I think it has like 1 kilogram, you know, which I don't know what it is in pounds at all, because this is for me so weird that you are using it, guys. But this is the biggest value camera on the market, or you will receive the most for absolutely funny value, basically. It doesn't cost money that much. Imagine that A7 IV was starting on this price point, and it never got even close to this, and I would say it would struggle with the competition what S5 Mark II offers already. And this is S1 Mark II is the S5 Mark II on steroids. And actually for me this is a little bit cannibalization of this. Like, if you want just stills, if stills is the thing for you, and more likely portraiture and static things and environment pictures and so on, S1R2, this is a camera for you, because this is specialization in high resolution, and if you need it, this is a thing. If you are more universal, this is a camera for you. This is a camera for everybody. This is, as I said, a universal soldier. 10 out of 10. This is the tank among the cameras. This is the Swiss knife. And I think with my experience with Lumix cameras, which for example S5 I have since the beginning, I think over 5 years already, I still have zero problems with it. So also this value Panasonic offers, and now it feels like I'm selling it to you, but actually I wanted to buy myself one, and I think in near future, hopefully I will be able to do it, especially if you buy me a coffee, I would be able to afford it. This is a camera which completely charmed me out, because from this point on, the competition changed, and this camera is a game changer. So write me in the comments below, what do you think? If you already have the experience, if you have some questions, ask them. Of course, I will try to respond to you. And yeah, buy me a coffee, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and see you next time. Thank you for watching.